Hello guys, welcome to Dan's IT Network. So today we'll talk about OSI model, okay? So in order for you to pass the CCNA exam is you need to know about OSI model and the TCP IP model, okay? So what does OSI stands for? Well, OSI, okay, stands for a open system interconnection, and OSI model has a 7 layer. Okay, the first is the physical data link, and then network, transport, session, presentation, and then the application. Okay, so each layer, okay, performs a specific function, right? And interaction between this layer, okay, it enabled the data communication in computer networks, all right? And by following the 7 layer of OSI model, okay, this can also be used in the network troubleshooting, okay? And an OSI model, okay, basically, it was never really implemented, okay, but it is a theoretical model, and it is a conceptual, all right. But what we really have is the internet, okay, which is the TCP/IP model, and under the TCP/IP model, we have here a 4 layers, okay. So the physical and data link layer falls onto the network access on the TCP/IP, and the network goes to the internet. So the transport goes to the same, it's a transport, and then this session, presentation, then application, it falls into just one, okay, 1 layer on the TCP/IP model, okay. So let's talk about here the physical layer, right? So in physical layer, okay, when we say a physical layer, this is the lowest layer of the OSI model. Okay, um, we deal with a physical connection between devices. All right, it defines the electrical and mechanical and procedural aspects of transmission and reception of unstructured raw bits, okay, over the physical medium. All right. So um, when we talk about physical layer, okay, the protocol data unit, okay, um, it's actually using the bits, all right, and these bits are being created, okay, using uh, the protocol, the physical media or a physical medium, okay, using cables, wireless signals, physical hardware connection, okay, like copper, fiber optic, or coaxial cables, right? So these bits are being created, okay, using this cables, okay, up to the coaxial cable. So these are um, electrical and mechanical and procedural aspects of transmission. So when you heard about electrical, mechanical, okay, cables, as long as it's a physical connection or a physical media and bits, then it falls under the physical layer. And on the TCP/IP, it falls under the network access. Okay, remember that. And next is on the data link layer. Okay, so on the data link layer, this falls under the um, network access on the TCP/IP model. All right, and uh, for the protocol data unit, it uses the data is the frames, right? So from bits, which is the binary, it will be converted into a frames, all right? And then the protocol on this layer 2, okay, is the most likely is the MAC addressing, all right? So it will register the MAC address, wherein the job of the switch will this is the job of the switch, the MAC address registration, the ARP, what do you call that? The ARP, the address resolution protocol, right? And it is a point-to-point and point to multi-point communication. So MAC address registration. Okay, so when you heard about frames, right, MAC addressing, switch and NICs. So this is the interface, right? And point-to-point and point-to-multipoint communication, MAC address registration is it falls under the data link, right? And the TCP IP it's under the network access. Okay, and then let's go on the number three, the network. So when we talk about network layer on an OSI model, okay, it falls under the internet, okay, of the TCP IP model, all right? And then the PDU is packets. So from from bits, it will be converted into frames, right? And then packets, all right? And then the protocol that is being used on the network layer is the IP addressing. So if when we talk about IP addressing, okay, or logical um, addressing, we talk about routers. So the job of the router is to route network from one network to the other network. Okay, so we talk about routing packets, okay, network, logical addressing, and from source to destination. So it's under the network layer. So remember this keywords, all right? That will help you to, it will serve as a guide for you if you're taking the exam. And then number four, it's a transport, okay? When we talk about transport on OSI model, it falls under the transport as well on the TCP IP, all right? And the PDU that is being used on the transport is the segments. Okay, so in here, from bits, it will be converted into frames and then packets, and then in transport, it's getting ready to be transferred. Okay, it's the segments. All right, and then the protocol. Well, is it a, TCP or UDP? And it will identify the port number. Okay, so like for example, if it's an HTTP that is port 80, right? So um, the transport will handle that situation. Okay, for the port numbers, and if the let's say for example the data is from a voice a line, right? Then uh, UDP will take responsibility, but if it's a non-voice, then it will be a TCP, right? And the device that falls under the transport is the layer 4 switches. Okay, when we talk about layer 4 switches, this is a combination of router and a switch, right? So it can do the job of the router and the switch, and that's why they call it layer 4 switches. Okay, and if you when you hear the word end-to-end communication, like manage flow control, segmentation, and error checking, transfer of data. Then we talk about the transport on the OSI model, and on the TCP IP model, it's also a transport. All right, and then next, well, the session, presentation, and the application. This falls under just one layer on the TCP IP, which is the application. But let's discuss this line by line, right? So let's go first on the session, right? It falls on the data, and then the protocol data unit. Okay, so session, application, and then data, right? And then doesn't have here an available for a session, but the uh, the um, the job that is being execute in session layer is it establish, manage, and terminates connection between applications. So it's more on the synchronization of data. Okay, so when you heard this word synchronization or synchronize, right? Let's say establish establish, manage, and terminates connection, then we talk about the session, okay? Because it says it here, application, right? It establish an application, manage application, and terminates connection between applications. So that's it. That's the keyword for the session, okay? And on the presentation the layer, okay, still it falls under the application on the TCP/IP model, and the protocol data unit is what we call also a data. All right, but in a data, okay, uh, the protocol that is being used is it needs to identify what type of data. Okay, so is it a picture like .jpg, or is it a music, right, or is it a video, or is it a compressed file like .zip? Okay, so definitely this falls under the presentation layer. Okay, and if we talk about like formatting, all right, translate, encryption, and compressed data, then we talk about the presentation. Okay, all right, and then last would be the application layer. Okay, so it falls under the application of the TCP/IP model, of course, and PDU is we call data, right? So from bits, it will be converted into a frames, and then packets, and then segments, and then it will become now data in here. Okay, and the protocol that is being used on the application is the HTTP. This is a port 80, right? And FTP, file transfer protocol, and SSH is a secure shell, right? And DNS, right, and DHCP, right? And if it's an application layer, well, we don't have device, okay, on this session presentation and application layer. And when we say application layer, it closest to the end user, right? So this is most likely on the interaction or interface between the user and the internet, right? So like for example, if the user will go to the HTTP, right? So we'll type the google.com, right? And then it will go first on the application layer, and then presentation layer will identify um, the data of what is the format, if there is a JPEG, and music, video, okay, until it will go onto the transport layer in here, okay. Is it well, I believe if it's an HTTP though, that will be the TCP, and it will definitely use the port number 80, okay, and then the data will be convert back to a segment, okay, and then after that the um, it will fall under the network. Okay, it will identify the IP address. Okay, and the segments will be converted in back into a packets. All right, and then this is the job of the router, and then it will go to the switch. Okay, and then the switch will then be need to identify the MAC address, so the packets will broke down into frames. Okay, all right, and then lastly, okay, it will go on the physical layer, which is the physical media. All right, so it will go on the physical connection on the device. All right, so frames will be converted into bits. Okay, all right, so that's it though. That's all about um, OSI model. Well, if you're planning to take the exam in CCNA, you just have to always remember the keywords, right? And memorize this, of course, from physical layer up to the application layer, and also for this TCP/IP model, right? And you should also familiarize yourself with the protocol data unit and the protocols that are being used by layer, and the device that are being used as well. Okay, and so here are the other information on each layer. Okay, so that's it.